Hello everyone, myself Ritesh. I have 5 years of experience into data engineering and data analytics field. My key skills or key expertise are Power BI for reporting purpose, the database that is SQL, and I have also have expertise into Azure Cloud, which includes ETL, that is Azure Data Factory, ADLS, Logic Apps, and Databricks. I've been working for multiple MNCs since last 5 years. I've worked for retail, I've worked for automobile, and I've also worked for cloud and technological domains.
So we kind of started with the basics of Power BI, how to get data from our local system, and we have seen few charts here. How does it look like? So yesterday we had a kind of glitch while recording. So the recorded session was re-recorded in the evening again, and we kind of uploaded it again. So I make sure that there won't be any issue now. So we kind of seen this representation yesterday, how to create a chart. So if I go back to the column chart, so this is what we were looking at. Now, one thing you have to see that whenever you are creating a chart in Power BI, by default, blue color is available, or by default, blue color is coming into picture. If I click on any other chart also, I'm trying to create any bar chart as well, and I'll use the same concept here. So we kind of used category and sales. Sales in the x-axis and category in the y-axis. Now by default, it is again coming blue color. Why is it so? Because in Power BI or else in any of the reporting tool, the color which is more easily catchable or more easily understandable to an human eye is a blue color. In terms of reporting, in whichever tool you are trying to do reporting, irrespective of Power BI, if at all you are using a Tableau also, there by default blue color would come in because it is more easily catchable to a human eye. Now, I'm not interested to get this blue color. I'm not much interested to get this blue color. How do we do that? We kind of seen the format visual tab yesterday. Now, what format visual is? It's a kind of cosmetic changes if you want to make a kind of makeup you want to make for the visual in the Power BI that can be done here. So if I go to x-axis, the color is changed here, but I want to change the color of bars or color of columns present here. How do I do that? If I go to columns here, so these are our columns. So by default, it is blue. If I want to change it, if I open this all or on this, for every category, we may have a different color. We may have a different color. If you want to click on technology, whatever color you want, we can take that. If you want orange, we can take orange. If you want purple, we can take purple. So irrespective of whatever color you want, you can take that. So even if you are not satisfied with all these available colors, if you click on more color, you can use this slider. So this is a kind of, this color is a KSR's logo color. So I kind of kept this as our logo's color. I'll try to make the same color for the categories, the other categories as well. We can have different colors. If I want blue here, if I want maroon here, or a kind of orange color here. So irrespective of whatever color you want, you can change your colors. By default, it is blue. If you want to change it, you can change your colors as well. Now, there's some effects present here. Now, what this effects means, it's a kind of conditional formatting. If I click on this, depending on the value, whatever value we have, if it's, so this is around, if I go to technology, if I open this, the technology is around 8,36,000. But I want to change depending on the text format, whatever a text format I have, you can change that colors as well. Now, how this format, the conditional formatting would work, we'll kind of see it in the advanced lectures. because it might create a confusion. But for our purpose, we can change whatever colors we want, irrespective of whatever field or whatever visual you are trying to take. So this looks more easily understandable or more intuitive for our human eyes. Now, if I go back to the other options, we'll kind of explore the options which are unexplored yesterday. We have only gone through x-axis, y-axis, and data labels. So we have explored column option here. We can increase the spacing. So there's a option in the column itself where if you want to increase the spacing between two different columns. So if I increase it, now you see space is increasing. Minimum is 20. If you want this minimum, you can keep that as minimum also. So depending on our requirement, we can change the spacing. So only we have three different conditions here. If I try to replicate it in this subcategory, how does it look like? Let's see that. So what I did, I kind of copied the same visual and I pasted it in the same Power View page. Now what I'll do in case of category, I'll change it to subcategory. Now again, by default, it's blue here. If I go back, columns, I'll change the default color itself. If I change the default color, all colors would be reflected. Now here, if I want more spacing for category, we could have changed the spacing here, irrespective of whatever spacing we have, inner padding or spacing. But if I change the spacing here, let's see how does it look like. This is very slim, a kind of very trimmed charts are available, or very trimmed column chart is available. This is not much useful. If I make it this, yeah, it is kind of understandable now. So depending on whatever chart, whatever visual we are selecting, we can change our options irrespectively. Now we have an option called as grid lines. Not sure if you guys are able to see any lines in these charts also. Grid lines are by defaultly selected for these both charts. If I make it in focus mode, now whenever I create a chart, if you hover on that chart, there are three different options available here. One is filter on this visual. So we kind of seen what is filter on this visual. We have an option called as focus mode, and the third one is more. So in this more options, there are multiple options available here. One is spotlight, one is remove. So remove would remove this. Show as a table. Now, how does this look like, or what is it? Show as a table. If I click on this, so whatever we were trying to do yesterday in the Excel format, so kind of tabular format is visible here. The visual is expanded and a kind of table format is visible here. Now, if I go back again, the same visual mode is available. Export data. So whatever data is present in this visual, that data would be exported as a CSV or an Excel file. If I click on this, see, it's a kind of Excel format. So that data would be exported in the CSV file. If I export this, only sales by category would be exported, not all the data. Complete table or complete data set would not be exported. Now, what is Spotlight? Let's see that. Now, if I click on Spotlight for this visual, all other visuals are a kind of grayed out, or all other visuals are kind of white. They are not visible here. Why? Because we are spotlighting on only one single visual. So if you are presenting it, if we had a requirement from the stakeholder that I want sales by category, and if I want to spotlight, if I want to show importance on this specific visual, we can use this spotlight to highlight that. Please don't look all other visuals aside. Our focus is on sales by category only. If I want to uncheck, simply uncheck it. Now the last option here is sort axis. Now, how does this sort axis would work? This we would see in detail in advanced lectures, but to give you guys an idea, how does it look like? I am sorting it in the descending. Now, if I sort it in the ascending, there is slight change. technology has come at the last, and office supplies with the minimum sales or minimum of these three is starting with office supplies, which has 0.72 million. Now that is the difference. I'm sorting it by ascending. So first, if you're sorting it, on which column you want to sort? If you want to sort sum of column, sum of sales, or if you want to sort by using category. Now, if I want to sort it by category, furniture is coming first, office is coming second, and technology is coming third. How does it sorting? I mean, how is it sorting? It is sorting alphabetically order. In category, we cannot decide how do we sort. So we kind of sort with the alphabets present here. F would come first, after O would come first, and at the end, T would come first. So in sort axis, we have to make sure whatever column you are selecting. So this looks not great to us. I mean, if you show it to the stakeholder, if you show it to the end user or a business person, this is not intuitive. This is not useful. It should be either from technology or it should be either from office sales, depending on the sum of sales. So by default, Power BI is smart enough to understand that sum of sales is what you guys are looking. Sum of sales is what we as a business are looking. So it is by defaultly selected sum of sales, and it has selected it in the descending order. Now in descending order, it is very easy because highest sales would come first and lowest sales would come at the last. If you want it in the ascending order, sort axis again, go to sort it as ascending. So let it be sort descending. Now, if I only want to see this visual, I mean, I was focusing on the grid lines. You guys may see or may not be able to see, but if I want to only focus on this visual, we kind of seen Spotlight. Spotlight, what it does is it spotlights that particular visual. But if I want to see it in a larger manner, how this visual is working, there's another option called as focus mode here. If I click on this focus mode, this visual is a kind of larger option or a large, easily visible to our eyes that comes into picture. Now here you might see there are some small dotted lines, which are nothing but grid lines, a kind of graphical lines are available. So depending on the sum of sales, these graphical lines are available. So what I'll do, I'll kind of change the decimal or display units here. I'll change it to thousands. Now this is very understandable, or else I'll keep it to none. Yeah, quite clear. Now, how do I make changes to these grid lines? If I go to this grid lines option, by default, it is dotted line. If I click on dash line, there are very small dash lines. I'm not sure if you're able to see that, but if I want to change it, I'll change the color to black. Now you can see the grid lines are easily visible to our eyes. If I want to change the width, the grid lines width would be increased. Now by default, or the maximum width is 4. For this, if I want to change the dashed line to solid, I can make it to solid lines as well. Now this is not that good. I'll make the width to 1 itself. Now, wherever these visuals are used by certain field officers or field integration team. So in that case, what does this field integration do? They are kind of tracking every, you could say every target. So for field team, they have certain targets. They have a target of 2 lakhs. They have a target of 4 lakhs. They have a target of 6 lakhs. So depending on the number of users and depending on the business requirement, a specific target is set for field users. So if this report is being shared with the field users, in that case, horizontal or whatever grid lines are present, we have to make sure that we are keeping this grid lines option on. If I keep it off, that grid lines would be disabled. Now, if I want to show this chart for a business, it is not required. It is not required to always show a grid line. But if this chart is being shared with the field users who are working on the field, a kind of sales agents. So at times we also get requests that we want to create a chart. This chart would be shared with the field users who are focusing on how to get business, how to get customers on daily basis. In that case, they have certain targets. So in order to show if that target is matching or not, we kind of have to on this grid lines. So depending on our requirement, whether is it a solid line, if solid line looks good, you can use solid line. If dashed line looks good, you can use a dashed line, or else you can use a dotted line. So the best or easily visible to our eyes with some different color is a dotted line. Now by default, it is selected as a dotted line. If I go back here, dotted line looks very easy for us to understand. If I make it to dash line, this looks something messy. I mean, more focus is on the background rather than the visual here, rather than the column chart here. Now, if I change it to solid line also, kind of clumsy look. But if I make it dotted, the focus would be more on visual rather than the grid lines. Yeah, grid lines are important for our targets, but focus would be more on visuals. So by default, or Power BI is again smart enough to understand that dotted line looks very easy, or it may look, or it may create a view that whatever visual you are trying to use, whatever colors you are trying to use, that is more important rather than the background grid lines. Now we kind of seen the grid line option today. We yesterday started with x-axis and y-axis. Now, what exactly x-axis is? X-axis is nothing but a kind of horizontal line. The category is x-axis, and y-axis is nothing but the sum of sales. I don't want to see category and I don't want to see sum of sales. I don't want to see these two. What I'll do, I'll simply go to x-axis, I'll off this. I'll simply go to y-axis, I'll off this. So if I off this, I would not be able to see the target range, or not be able to see the sum of sales. That would be disabled. If I again off on this, so there are certain requirements whenever you get this requirement that I don't want to see the categories data, I don't want to see the sum of sales data, I only want it as a visual representation. So in that case, we can off this. Now, if I show this report, if I show this visual to the end user, did he or will he get anything? Will he get any information from this? He's trying to figure out what is category, what this category belongs to, and he may understood him, or he may get that this is only category, this column is only category, and this column is only sum of sales. What about this column? So for that reason, we kind of kept x-axis and y-axis as on, because for this visual, in order to understand what exactly it is trying to give us an info, we kind of kept it on. Now, if I move back to this second visual here, I want to see it in a very focused mode, or I want to see it in a large mode. So what I'll do is I'll try to take this visual in the new page. So how do we create a new page? Simply click, we are by default on the first page. If you simply click on new page, second page would be available. So I kind of copied it and I'm pasting it here. That's it. And I don't want this visual on this page. Simply click on three dots. If I hover on this, more options, remove this visual. Now, the most important thing for any visual, as we discussed, readability. Now these phones, chairs, storage, tables, these are not much readable. I want this in a bigger format. I want this in a bigger format. If I go back to visual, go back to x-axis, I am changing this. Yeah, now it is kind of more readable. I've increased the size of the font. Now it is kind of more readable and easily understandable that phones had a sum of sales, or sum of sales for phone was around 330K. I'll again change the display units. If I go to y-axis, now how do we change display units? How do we change display units? Because we are kind of displaying the sum of sales on the y-axis, not on the x-axis. We are displaying sum of sales on the y-axis, so that display units would be available in the y-axis only, because we are using y-axis as a sum of sales, a kind of numerical column here. If I go back here, I'll make it to none. Now this is kind of, yeah, understandable, or more understandable to the human eyes. Okay. Now the question is, You might see phones. Yeah, the word is completely visible. Chairs, it is also visible. Now there are certain words, accessories. If I want to share this, let's see how does it look on focus mode. So in the focus mode also, it is looking similar. If I want to share this with the end user in this format, whether do you think that he would accept this? I mean, we can share it, but the accessories word is not completely visible. We have to hover on this and then only accessories is visible. Furniture is also not visible. Furnishings, okay, it's furnishing. So I kind of thought it's furniture because the spelling is not completely present here. Now, how do we change that? How do we change that? If I go on the x-axis, so these are all part of subcategory is all part of x-axis. I want to change, I want to tilt. I mean, this is in the a kind of angle it is present, a kind of 30-degree angle it is present. So I want to change it in the 90-degree angle. How do I change that? If I go back to the x-axis and if I'm trying to figure out, now we have options for font size. We have options for italic. We have options for underline. Okay. What is this area height? Okay. Area height is also not working. Okay, I'll change it to this way. Accessories. Okay, earlier accessories was not completely visible. Now accessories is visible. Still furnishing is not visible. I kind of changed the maximum area height also. So how do I change that? There are no options present here. Okay, we have on this. So this is how we can make sure that whatever words are kind of, we are not able to see that words, we kind of have to make sure that title is being removed. So here title is being removed, but we want title also. The requirement is we also want title. We have already have a title for this complete visual, that is sales by category. Now with this it is understandable but that these are subcategories or these are categories. This is subcategory. How do we change the title? In the format itself, I'll go to general, I'll go to title, I'll make it subcategory. Yeah, subcategory, and I'll again come back to the visual itself. Now I kind of kept on, but if I increase the size, I want title also. If I increase the size, this is not increasing. Now, in certain cases, if you want title as well, if you want title and all the subcategories names, the only change or the only option here is in this visual, a kind of column chart. We cannot change or we cannot improve it. We have to make sure that it is changed to some other visual. Let's see some other visual. Let's try this. Yeah. So in this visual, we kind of seeing, we are able to see all the values available here. So this is also understandable. This is also readable. Now at the end, envelopes, labels, and fasteners. There aren't any data labels available here. Any reason anyone can show? I mean, anyone can say that why these data labels are not available here. Okay. If no cell, it should have been reflected outside. If I go to data label, I kind of use outside end. It's a kind of hint I'm giving. Outside end, it is visible. Inside end or inside base, it is not visible. Now, if I see in inside end, it is again still visible. In outside end, because we kind of using a white color there, we have to make sure the color is changed. So now the color is changed. It is kind of reflecting outside. Now the data labels are available for all the subcategories present here. Now this is, we have selected italic here. I don't want italic. I only want underlines. Yeah. So this is a kind of bar chart. Now what bar chart and what column chart is? Column chart is, it's in a vertical format and bar chart is in a horizontal format. That is the basic difference. In bar chart, if you are trying to show it out, now there are two options here. Y-axis came first and x-axis came second. Why? Because y-axis, in y-axis, we are taking sum of sales. Is it? We are taking sum of sales, and in x-axis, what we are taking, let's see that. If I go to x-axis, display units are none. I'll make it to 1000. So sum of sales have come to x-axis and categories or subcategories have gone to y-axis. Whereas in column chart, if I again change it to column chart, and if I again go back to format visual, x-axis is coming first. X-axis is nothing but subcategory, and y-axis is nothing but sum of sales. How do we differentiate? Because display units are only available in sum of sales. But if I again go back and change it to bar chart, and again go to the cosmetic tab or visual tab, format visual tab, y-axis is coming first. And in y-axis, what is y-axis? Y-axis is subcategory. Now, subcategory which was there here in the column chart, it has moved out to, from x-axis, it has moved out to y-axis. And in x-axis, earlier in y-axis, we were able to see display units. Now in x-axis, we are able to see display units. Now that is the main difference in between bar chart and column chart. The axis gets changed from horizontal to, this is a kind of horizontal. Earlier it was vertical. So from vertical to horizontal, and from horizontal to vertical, that is the basic difference between a column chart and a bar chart. Now we kind of seen many options here. Let's assume that we got a requirement from a kind of head or a chief technology officer or a chief executive officer of a particular organization. Or let's assume this is for Amazon, or this is for certain online company or online purchase portal, where CEO is asking us to get the details of subcategories by total sales, what all subcategory products he has sold by total sales. Now we kind of created a visual. This is looking very easy. This is looking very a kind of classy to our human eyes. We can show it directly, but can we make it more intuitive? Can we make it more a kind of more what you would say, a more readable to human eyes, or more a kind of more importance with the help of cosmetic changes, with the help of this format tab? Can we make it more intuitive again? Now how do we make that? Let's try this option, the plot area background. Now what this plot area background would do, if I use this, we can add images here. We can add any images here. Let me take one image. I'll go back here. Okay, let me search. So I've kind of saved this image. Let us take this image here. Now, how does it look like? So we kind of took this image. Image fit is normal. Let's make it total fit. If I change the data labels again to white color, how does it look? And again, I'll go back to fit to fill, transparency. We can change the transparency also in this plot area background. So whatever image you're trying to select, this is not perfect. Let us try some other image. Let's try this. Save image. This is good. Go back to normal, and I'll again change the data labels. Outside and change the color to, give this, I'm changing it to same color also, and I'm transferring, decreasing the transparency. Yeah, this is looking kind of more. Okay, let me change again the data labels also. This is looking more good. Now, depending on our requirement, if we kind of add a background image, this would create a more understandable or a more um, kind of different perspective for a higher level person. If you are trying to share this as a report, he wants sum of sales by subcategory. If we would have shared it without any background image, that would is also acceptable. But if we are sharing it with some background image, so he's trying to understand that people are focusing on their company's logo also. They're focusing on their company's logo as well. We can share this with the stakeholders also. If now what stakeholders are, for any organization, some people, a kind of people who are investing in that organization, a kind of shareholders. So shareholders and stakeholders are nothing but the same. If they are investing in the company's profit, if they are investing in the company's business, and if we share this visual, people who doesn't know technically, who doesn't sound technically good, for them, whatever information you add, if you add it in the background, it would look more interesting for them, rather than a normal image, rather than a normal chart. If I go back and format visual, plot area background. If I remove this, this is looking there, there's some complete white space. But what we kind of did, we kind of uploaded this image. This is looking something more interesting. We could have added it as a normal. We could have used a fit also. This fit option is also okay. Fill option is also okay. So depending on the requirement to whom we want to share, we can also add background images also for a single visual. Now, can we add a background visual for complete page? Yes, we can also do that. Now, how do we do that? If I compress it, I want to add background image to the complete page, not only this specific visual. Now, if I click on the white space, this is the white space or the complete page. Now, if I click here, for this complete space or for this complete page also, there is an option called as format your report page. Now here we have options, page information, page 2. You can change the page name also. Canvas setting, now size of this page. Now if I want to increase 4:3 letter size. So this is the letter size. This is tooltip size. This is custom size. Now custom sizes we can change our height and width depending on a requirement. So by default it is 16:9. Now what I'll do is middle alignment. I'll try to see if can I add a background. Yeah, canvas background is there again. I don't want background for this. I want a background for the complete page. What I'll do, I'll try to remove this and again I'll click on the white space here. Go to format page, canvas background. I'll add a picture here. Transparency is 100. Oh, yeah. Something. Where is that visual, man? Normal fit we cannot see. I guess with this fit I can see that. Now we can add a pictorial representation for a complete page as well. So whatever options we get for an individual KPI or an individual visual, that almost every option is also available on the background page also. So in canvas background, you can change, you can add an image. If you want to change a color, you can change a color also. Transparency is this, but if I remove this, color would be visible. Now, rather than image using image in the background, this color is more interesting. This color is more kind of interesting here. If I again see what all options I have. If you want both canvas background, if you want both image as well as background, now here we can add an image also. Normal fit, yeah. We can add image. We kind of added background, we kind of added image also to the complete page. Now there are filter cards. So what all options these are, we'll try to figure out when there is a requirement as an input header. Okay. Now let's focus only on these options for a complete page. Page information. If I want to change the information of page, we can change it. Canvas settings. So what type of page you want, the size of page. Now this is also not looking much interesting because this visual is above the complete page. I want to make it more transparent. I want to make this visual also a transparent visual. Now, if I click on this visual, go back here, go to settings. Let me do that. Now, with the help of transparency, this is looking more understandable or more easily readable. A kind of interesting visual. So depending on our requirement, whatever requirement we are getting, we kind of have to tweak the visual. We kind of have to change the visual. We are also able to see the complete background. We are able to see the KPI or visual which we have selected. Now earlier it was like this. We have changed it to this format. So from changing from this format to this format, I have still now never used my keyboard. I have still now never used my keyboard. I'm still now never used my keyboard. I'm still using mouse. I'm still using my computer mouse or a laptop mouse. I haven't written a single line of code. So this is how the Power BI is evolving without any single line of code, without writing any single line of character, with the help of only options, UI options available, the user interface options available in the Power BI desktop, we can change as per our understanding. So if we could have used Tableau here, at times we might require, or we may have to use a kind of certain coding level there. Now let's try some options, some other options here. We kind of gone through filter formats. Okay, let me open a notepad. So what we will do is we'll try to go back to the data. We'll check the data view for this, whatever data set we have. We have already seen yesterday how is the data, how we have pulled this data. If we are trying to get data from the data source which is not accessible for us, so in that case what we have to do is we have to load that data first and then go back to the data tab, rather than using report tab. Go back to the data view and see what type of data is present in the data set, or what type of data is present in the table which we have pulled it from multiple data sources. Now let's try to understand the data types present in the columns. We kind of seen what is data yesterday. Let's try to understand what is data type present in these columns. So if I click on row ID, the data type here is whole number. It's a kind of numerical data type. Now if I click on order ID, it is text. Now why text? Here we also have numerical, here we also have text or a character format. Now, whenever there is a combination of text as well as a numerical format in Power BI, the Power BI engine automatically makes sure to use text format only. If I want to change it, if I change it to any numerical format, okay, if I want to change it to numerical format, what does it look like? This is text. Let me change it to numerical format. We can't automatically convert the column to whole number. It is giving us an error. Why? Because CA is a kind of character present here, which acts like a text. So this Power BI engine is smart enough to understand that if we change it to numeric, the CA option would not be available. Either everything would reflect as an error. So in order to avoid that, it is not converting it. Now let's see what is order date. Now here also it is order date. August is also a character. December is also a character. Now how come is it taking as a date? So in date format, we have this as a date data type, and how to get that date, long date. So whatever date you want, you can select that date format. If you only want DDMMYY, you can select this value. If you want complete year, you can select this. So depending on our requirement, whatever information you want, you can change the format of data type. If I go back to shipment date, again this is a date. If I go back to ship mode, the shipment mode, it is text again. Now let's try some numerical visuals. Let's try some numerical visuals. So postal code is a numerical. So it is taking as a whole number. Now product ID is a combination of both. Just like customer ID, it's a combination of both, but it starts with a character. For that reason, it is taking as a text format. Now if we would have tried sales here, sales is a decimal. Decimal in the sense we have 0.35, we have 0.68. For that reason, it is taking as a decimal. This is whole number again. Discount again decimal. So there are certain decimal values present in the discount also. So how do we see that? If you click on this drop down, just like Excel, if you click on this drop down, we can see these values. Now profit again, it would be decimal. So accepted, these are decimal values. But if I try to see these values, how do we categorize this data in the Power BI? Or how do we make sure that on which type of data, how do we create visuals? Now, if we have created this bar chart, in this bar chart, what we are trying to do, in y-axis, we are using subcategory. So this is y-axis. The vertical line is y-axis, and the horizontal line, we have used sum of sales. Let's try to use non-numerical value. If I remove the sum of sales and I've used subcategory, I'll try to use category again. This is non-numerical value. If I would have taken category, which is nothing but a non-numerical value, if I go back here, category is a non-numerical value. Where is it? Yeah, category. If I click on this, it's a text value. It's a text value. Now, what is it? It's a kind of text value. If I go back again, even though I am taking a text value here, why is it still using a count? Why is it still using a count? I don't want count. I don't want numerical concept here. Let's try some other option. I'll try to take city. So even for city, it is taking count of city. Why? Because this visual only focuses when one of the value is a categorical value and one of the value is a text value and one of the value is a numerical value. If we use both categorical values, if we use both text values, this visual is not that useful for us. So Power BI engine is smart enough to understand that if you are using a column chart, if you are using a bar chart, in that case, one of the axis should be a text value and the other axis should be numerical value. Even though I am taking any text value here, if I take product name also, here count of product name would come. So do you think that this is right value or this is the right visual we are representing? No, because we are taking both text values. So the second x-axis, it is assuming it as a count of product name. So we want category and product name. That's it. We don't want count of product name. Even though this visual is available, even though this visual is created, but this visual doesn't have any meaning to it. Subcategory by count of product name, we don't have any meaning to it. If we only take any numerical value, in that case only it is understandable or it is easily readable. Now, sum of profit. This is a numerical value. Now we also differentiate the numerical value and a text value from here. If we see there are small icons present. So these are kind of summarize icons. Now what does this summarize icon convey? These are all numerical values. Now wherever you find this summarize icon, these are all numerical values. Postal code, it's a numerical value. We are kind of summarizing it. Discount is a numerical value. So numerical doesn't mean it should be a whole number or it should be a rational number. It is if it's a numerical value. If it's a decimal also, it is a numerical value. And for categorical and for category, now what categorical means? Whatever is a character, whatever is a text value, we call it as a categorical value. So for all categorical columns, we don't see any icon present. Whereas in case of date, we have a date icon, a kind of calendar icon present here, ship date, order date. And we can see the date hierarchy also. So for every date column, we have a date hierarchy, year, quarter, month, and day. Even if you're trying to get data, if I go back to the data view, we are only trying to get date, month, and which year. Date, month, and which year. But Power BI is smart enough. If I go back to the report view, it is smart enough to understand that which month is it. Even though it's a character value, it will take numerical month. It will take which quarter is it, and it would give us the date hierarchy. Now, some people may not get this date calendar. They might directly get it as a categorical value. In that case, how do we change it? So there are certain options available in Power BI. If I go back to file, in options and settings, once you click on this, the two options would be available. One is data source settings and first one is option. So click on options first. So this would load a different visual or different pane here. Now, how do we make sure that order date, for some of the people, order date would not come as a date condition. The date hierarchy would not be available. So in that case, If you go to this options and settings and click on options, there is the data load itself. There is an option called as auto date and time intelligent for new files. If I uncheck is, let's see how does it look like. Still looking as a date. Go back to options again. Data load, this is auto selected. If I go to the data load, current file I am trying to check. If I uncheck this, let's try to see. Now kind of uncheck that option. What I've did, I gone back to the file. I've used options and settings and I've clicked on options. Now there are two options available here. One is global and one is current file. So global is nothing but whatever information you are trying to get for all the reports you are trying to do. For that case, it would take as a global. If you are trying to make any setting changes here, irrespective of this particular report, if you are trying to create a new report also, that would take as a global parameter. Now for this current file, I've gone to data load, similar like global, and I've unchecked this auto date and time intelligence option. And I clicked on OK. Now wherever there is a date format, that date format has gone back. Now order date was a date format. You may not find date hierarchy. Let's go back to the data view and check. But still here it is reflecting as a date. Still here it is reflecting as a date. So Power BI assumes that these are still a date format, but the date hierarchy which we were getting here, that date hierarchy is kind of gone. Now, for some of the people, you may feel that why there is a date hierarchy not visible. In that case, you have to make sure you go to file, go to options and settings, click on options, go to data load on the current file, check this time intelligence option, click on OK. The date hierarchy would definitely available, would be easily visible. Now, coming back to visual, subcategory is a categorical value or a text value. Sum of profit is a numerical value. Now, if I go back to the first page, let's try this here. I don't want sum of sales. I want profit. And I want, what I'll do, I'll try to take both numerical values here. I've kind of taken profit. I'll take quantity. Now, any one of you can explain me what is this visual trying to convey? What is this visual trying to convey? I'll format this. Blue color is not interesting to me. I'll change the columns to this. Okay, this is now visible. Now, if anyone can convey me what this visual is trying to convey or what this visual is trying to give us info. I've used both numerical values on x-axis. So one and the most important thing, where to use this column chart, where to use this column chart and where to use this bar chart. Now in case of bar chart and column chart, let's assume C as a categorical value, N as a numerical value, and D as a date time value. So D as a date time, N as a numerical, and C as a categorical. In case of column chart, what is the best fit? It should have one categorical value versus one numerical value. This is the best fit. This is the best fit. Irrespective of column chart or bar chart, whatever we are using, I'll take this above bar chart and column chart and bar chart. In this case, it should have one categorical and one numerical value, which is the best fit. We can always use one categorical versus one categorical, but this is unfit. This is unfit. Power BI, whatever you are trying to give, it is trying to take that info. It is not giving you an error. It is the most user-friendly reporting tool. It could have given us error that this is not the right way, but it is not giving us error. It is the best friend for any person. It is trying to take whatever you're trying to give it as an input. Whatever you're trying to give it as an input, it is trying to take that value and it is trying to plot that. But this is not the right way. This is not conveying us any result. So which column or which visual should be used where, that we are going to see in next few days. So we kind of started with column chart and bar chart. In this, the best fit is one should be categorical value, the other should be numerical value. No two categorical values or no two numerical values are fit for this. Both of them are unfit. Now, if I change it to category, so this is, I mean, the chart is representing some category wise sum of profit. This is right condition because one is categorical value, one is text value, and one is numerical value here. Now we kind of seen how to improve visuals. What is the readability? Now here still again technology office supplies are still not readable, even though this looks more bigger. We may change, we may go back and we may change the size. We can increase the size also. So the most important thing in Power BI or the most important thing while creating report is readability of words, readability of whatever sentences or whatever you're trying to convey with that visual, that should be easily readable for any user. Users may be non-technical people, they don't even know what this Power BI is. They only know that with help of this chart, how to make our business more understandable, how to make our business more increasing, or a kind of how to make more profits from a specific area. They only know that condition. So depending on that visual, depending on whatever reports you're trying to share, that reports or that visual should be easily readable. So the most important thing for a data analyst, that whatever visual you're trying to work, it should be more readable and it should be a kind of interactive visual. If you share this visual for any user, he may also get, he's also getting that sum of sales, or these are the sum of sales by category. These are sales by each category. But if I try to share in this format, if I try to share, let me take sales again. If I am trying to share this subcategory by sales in this format, rather than going to this visual, he would definitely see this visual. It is looking more interesting because we kind of added a cosmetic background to it. So the second important thing after readability is how to make that visual more interesting. Now, this is what we are kind of focusing. We will be using these terminologies ahead in our complete report building. We kind of started with our basics today. We have seen what all options we have for column chart and why should we take one categorical value and one numerical value, not both categorical, not both numerical values. Now, question comes that there are many YouTube videos available in the online. They may say you, they may guarantee you that if you learn Power BI in 2 days, with 2 days of workshop, you would be pro in Power BI. They would never teach you how to use or where to use which chart. If you are using text values, if you are using numerical values, they would never teach you. So in that case, if you learn Power BI in 2 days, almost every person on this world would go and learn this Power BI. Power BI is easy to understand. It is way more easier than any reporting tool accepted, but every visual has its own behavior. In order to understand that behavior, we have to go back and see how is it that visual working. We have checked both numerical values, we have checked both categorical values. It is also reflecting. The visual is also available for both numerical as well as categorical values, but that doesn't convey any meaning to it. It should be one categorical and it should be one numerical value. Now let's see what all visuals we have. We kind of, this first line is a kind of combination of all bar charts and column charts. Now we have seen stacked bar chart, we have seen stacked column chart. Now what is this 100% stacked column chart? Let's try this. This is bar chart. I'll try this 100% stacked bar chart. Okay, this is looking 100%. If I go back to the column chart also, let's try 100% column chart. Is this visual looking, we are trying to convey some information. So this visual is understandable. Everything is 100%. Even for this bar chart, everything is 100%. So this is not the right visual. If I see the clustered bar chart, there is nothing much difference. There is nothing much difference. Now we'll see where to use this clustered bar chart and clustered column chart. Now, if I take this subcategory sum of sales, I also want to include category here. I also want to include category here. Now, what I'll do, I'll try to take category in the legend. I go back. This is the category. I've kind of taken it in the legend, and I'll now how does this legend work? We'll try to see that. Furniture, office supplies and technologies. So what values we have in category? Technology, office supplies and furniture. So I kind of used, these are subcategories, and I have merged categories with subcategories here. I've taken two columns here. Now let's try to see how do we make it more intuitive. I've kind of added it in the legend. I'll go back to the bars and I'll change the options here. Now what I did is I've only changed the colors. From this one particular visual, we are also getting what type of subcategory it is, what is the subcategory by total sales, and what is the category also. We're trying to get machines, accessories, copiers, phones. These are all part of technology category. Chairs, bookcases, and furnishings are part of furniture. And whereas storage, binders, papers, art, supply, envelopes, labels, and fasteners are nothing but part of office supplies. Now, how does this legend work? Now, wherever if you want to club two different categories with one numerical value. Now, are we trying to show furniture total sales? No, we are not trying to show furniture as a total sales. We are trying to show subcategory wise sum of sales, but we are trying to filter out that what this subcategory belongs to or which category this subcategory belongs to. Phone belongs to technology category. Chair belongs to furniture category. So in this case, we have used the concept called as legend. So if I interchange it, I'm trying to take, what I'll do is I try to take category above, category in the y-axis, and subcategory in the legend. Now, how come is it only showing three? Because in category, we only have three options: technology, furniture, office supplies. And in this, there are many subcategories. If I expand this, there are many subcategories. Now, is this visual easy to understand or is above, I mean, the last visual which we have seen, if I go back, if I change it to subcategory, and again, I'll pull back the category in the legend, is this visual easy to understand? Because yeah, this visual might look easy to understand, but we are not trying to convey what we are getting here. We want the information. We are going it in the backward manner. We are going it in the backward manner. First comes category and then comes the subcategory. So we kind of using subcategory sales, but if I interchange the columns here, if I get the subcategory legend and category as a y-axis, we are using it in the right approach. Now, how do we assume that it is in the right approach? Because we are downgrading from category to subcategory. So the right approach is after category, subcategory comes into picture. Now, every category has multiple subcategories present in it. Now, this is how the importance of legend is. If you want to give us, if you want to show out two categorical values in one single chart, we can use the concept of sub legend where we are adding the next available value or next available sub value. After category, it is subcategory. So if you hover on this complete bar, the only changes subcategories are changing. Now this is phones, this is machines, this is copiers, this is accessories. Whereas the category is same. Now sum of sales is also changing here. Sum of sales is also changing here. Now, if I see the total sales, let me, grid lines is open. Okay, grid lines is on. I'll take the width. Dotted line is not. Solid line. Okay, I'll change the color. Now, with the help of these dotted lines, we can get what is the total sum of sales for the technology. and the subcategory sum of sales also. If I hover on this, sum of sales for technology and accessories is 1,67,000. Technology and copiers is 1,49,000. Now technology and machines is again 1,89,000. So this is how the importance of legend is. In case of legend, never go backward trend. Never go backward trend. We kind of used a backward trend where subcategory was in the y-axis and we are trying to figure it out with the help of category in the legend. That is also easily understandable, but that is not giving us any meaning. But this condition, if you're trying to create it any legend, if you're trying to create any legend here, even this is also suitable. I mean, the visual which we have created, if we have subcategory here and we have category in the legend, this is also suitable. I mean, which type of category is it? Phones is a subcategory, but under which category it comes? It comes under technologies category. Even this visual is also suitable. But whereas if you want to use legend, the best use case is go from upward to downward trend, not from downward to upward trend. Now, what is upward to downward and downward to upward? We are moving from subcategory to category, which is downward to upward trend. Whereas in case of category, which is coming first here, if we use category here, and if I'm using subcategory here, now this is more interesting. We are using or we are going from upward to downward trend. Now, how to use this, how to use the legend, we will see again with some other examples, but make sure you understand the use case of legend. Always use legend from upward to downward trend. Even from downward to upward trend, it is understandable, but it is not giving me a complete meaning. It is not giving me a complete meaning. Let me make this y-axis font little bit small. Now this is interesting. So we kind of seen how to use a legend. We have seen what is the importance of bar chart and column chart. We will see this if I try to make this as stacked column chart. Now here it is giving me some interesting result. 100% stacked bar chart, 100% stacked column chart. Now what are we trying to convey it here? Out of 100% technology, 39% belongs to phones, 22% belongs to machines, 17% belongs to copiers, and 20% belongs to accessories. Now earlier, if we were using this, if we were using only category, is it making us some result? Is it giving us some result? 100% technology? Yeah, we know that 100% technology, what all subcategories we have in this. Unless we take any legend here, this 100% stack bar chart and 100% stack column chart would never give us any information. So if you use a legend, these two visuals comes into picture and they would give us whatever is the percentage bifurcation of that legend. Now for furniture, 15 to 16% is bookcases, 45% is chairs. Now I'm rounding up at 12.36, it's furniture, and 28% is table. So I want to check what percentage of subcategory products are available in each of the category product. In each of the category product. So then we can use this 100% stacked bar chart or 100% stacked column chart. Now we are left with clustered bar chart. We are left with clustered column chart. We will again see with some other example, what is the use case of this. So we kind of completed all the line and bar charts today. The clustered bar chart and column chart, I'll try to convey it with some other example, but let's stop this for today. We have 10 more minutes. I'm open for questions. Prior asking any question, let me clear one thing. I mean, folks are reaching out to KSR team, or even I have received some calls that whether SQL is important. This question is asked again, whether SQL is important for a Power BI developer. Yes, SQL is important, but not all SQL is necessary for a data analyst or a Power BI developer. Only what data analyst has to understand, irrespective of whatever SQL is it, if we learn up to some concepts in SQL, that is more than enough.
That is more than enough. And we kind of completed SQL for this batch, for this course. It doesn't mean that if you are trying to opt this Power BI course, you would not be getting SQL understanding. We will share you the complete SQL recordings. If you are not interested to see recordings also, you would get SQL access for other courses. There are some other courses going on in this KSR. For every course, SQL is important in KSR. We are kind of covering SQL in every course, and the complete SQL understanding is same in every course. For a data scientist, for a data engineer, and for a data analyst, SQL course is same. The concepts covered in SQL are same in any course. So if you want live classes, you can opt any of this live class. You mean whatever SQL we have completed, you will also get SQL recordings. If you are not interested to go through that recordings, accept it. You would also get live classes if there are any SQL courses going on. If you are not interested to attend that live class with the Power BI class which we are covering, because you might get a confusion that if we are covering SQL, if you are going through SQL and Power BI in one single day, now you can wait till 3 months unless we complete Power BI and Azure. Once you complete this, then you can again learn SQL. Then you can go back whenever a new batch would be starting. In that new batch, I will add you, or KSR team will add you. You can again learn SQL. So simply don't confuse. If you think that the course is completed, the SQL course is completed, how would I learn that? You can opt for any ongoing SQL courses in any of the courses, which there are many live courses going on in KSR. If you think that going through Power BI and SQL in the one day would be confusing, you can wait for 3 months. Once this Power BI and Azure is completed, at the end also you can learn SQL. So for a Power BI developer, you can learn it either way. You can start with Power BI or you can start with SQL. Whatever is first, you might understand SQL at the end also. There is nothing much to confuse. Thank you, everyone. Have a very nice weekend.